our schedule. So right now our schedule is to hold court until it looks like we can't. So that's kind of the way we've done this all along, and that's the way we'll continue doing it. But we'll be mindful of the jurors' concerns, and we will kind of keep them updated, and we will not require that they be here unless they can safely be here. So we'll take a look at it at 5 o'clock and see where we are then. All right, ask the jury to come in, please. We're back in session. The jurors are again present. Sorry about the delay, folks. We were been discussing the weather situation with some of the staff and jury clerk, and maybe we'll have more information for you about 5 o'clock or so. But I guess y'all know that I'm kind of reluctant to just sort of imprudently make some decision about closing court if it's not doing anything outside. I don't want to lose court time that we would reasonably have to get this matter done, which then just delays it further. So I'll let you know as we make those decisions. All the jurors are present. Mr. Gaskins, I think you had stopped at a point, and I'll let you pick up right now.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Ms. Hayes. Let me ask you, what is Monkey Joe's?
It's a children's playground. It's inflatable, those like jumpy houses. It's a whole room full of them.
How often were Grant and Little Grant and General allowed to go play at Monkey Joe's?
Very, very frequently. Grant would take the boys either to Monkey Joe's or the park or to the mall or somewhere just about every day that we had them. Kind of gave me a break to be able to take a shower and stuff like that. So,
had he planned to take the boys to Monkey Joe's on Tuesday, July 12th?
yes, I believe he did take them that day.
You know how long they stayed that day?
No, I really don't know.
You'd indicated earlier that you and Grant and Lily were planning to move in with his parents in Kinston. Had Grant placed some items on Craigslist for sale?
I'm not 100% sure. We had spoke about it. We had talked about selling some of the larger furniture because we had talked about, you know, what should we do to keep this stuff, because at this time I had in storage all the stuff that I had brought from New York. At some point I had gone to New York and cleared out our apartment when Shay came back to North Carolina with me. So he may have already put some stuff on there. I don't recall 100%.
Let's talk about July 13th.
Yes, sir.
Tell us what happened on July 13th as the daylight, your hours go on.
Well, to my knowledge, Grant and Laura had made arrangements the day before to meet. A few weeks prior to that, ever since Dr. Calloway's report had been submitted to the attorneys, Laura had been wanting midweek visits due to the fact that that's what Dr. Calloway had recommended. Grant did meet with Laura at Monkey Joe's approximately 2 or 3 weeks before July 13th. I don't recall exactly, but I know that it ended in some type of conflict. I wasn't there. And so the following week, whenever she asked him to do it again, he told her no. So on the 12th, he had asked me what I thought and if, he should try it again. And I told him if he thought, that they could do it, then to go for it. And so I know that, like I said, they were always text messaging and emailing. They primarily tried to, well, I know Grant did, and it appears Laura did also, try to keep everything, either some type of written journal to document everything. And so most of their communication was done through emails and text messages. And so I know that he had invited her to Monkey Joe's through a email, I believe, is what he told me.
Do you know what time they were planning to meet at Monkey Joe's?
He told me at 3. I know later that afternoon, he told me that she wasn't, that she was running late, and but I don't know that they had changed a time. At my last knowledge, it was 3 o'clock. That's what I knew.
What happened later that day?
Whenever she contacted him or he contacted her, I don't know which it was. He was informed that she was running way late, and he told her that he didn't have time to do it now, that she could just come get the boys and take them herself.
And did you then see her at the house later that day?
Well, the boys and I, we were in the bedroom, and we were watching that movie, The Cars, and Grant came into the bedroom and told me that Laura was there, and he wanted to try to talk to her and tell her just to keep the boys whenever she got them this weekend. And he told me to keep the boys in there so that they could talk. And I really don't know how long we had been in there. The movie was probably about, I don't know, halfway through. And at one point, Lily, I had been feeding her, and she had a poopy diaper. And so I went out of the bedroom to go get Lily a new diaper. And whenever I went out, I saw Grant and Laura sitting at the dining room table. And Laura was writing something, and she had slid it back to Grant. And I stopped behind him to see what it was, and that was the letter that everybody's seen. And I was reading it, and Grant got up and walked to the kitchen, and Laura kept commenting how pretty Lily was, and I just turned around and walked off, and she had asked if she could hold Lily, and I just ignored her and walked off. And at that time, she told me to wait a minute, and she said that something to the effect that I had her kids, and I wouldn't even let her see my baby. And she approached me, and at that time that she had tripped over the rug and kind of bumped into me. I was heading to the nursery, which is, I know you guys have all seen the layout. There was a love seat right there and a rocking chair right next to each other, and there's a little wall. And whenever she tripped over the rug, she bumped into me, and Grant approached her and grabbed her and kind of was pulling her back and just telling her to chill out. And she started fighting him, and whenever she did, that little wall, but right by the love seat, she kicked it, and whenever she did, they both went over the chair and landed on the floor. And I ran to the bedroom with Lily. I didn't even stick around to see what happened. And when I got to the bedroom, little Grant was trying to come, he was coming out of the door, and he asked me what that noise was, and I told him that the chair fell, and to come back into the bedroom. And he asked where his daddy was, and I told him he was picking up the chair. And I got them situated back on the bed and everything. And I don't know how long it was, maybe 5 or 10 minutes. And I don't even think it was that long, maybe 5 minutes, maybe. Grant comes into the bedroom, and he tells me that Laura's hurt and he needs to call for an ambulance, that he wants me to take the boys out of the house so that they don't see anything. And so he tells me that he's going to take Laura into the bathroom, and that you know, to hurry up and get dressed and stuff. And I told him I need a diaper for Lily because she's still poopy. And so he just gives me, he goes and gets her diaper bag, and I'm trying to get dressed, and the boys are just watching the movie because they are ready to go. They knew they were supposed to be going to Monkey Joe's. And I just throw on, you know, my shorts and t-shirt and stuff, and Grant's trying to help me get out of the house, and he gives me the diaper bag and my purse and the keys and just tells me to go out. And so I go and I put the kids in the car, and I'm like really freaked out, and I'm shaking, and so I was going to take the boys to Monkey Joe's, and whenever I drove by, they were already closed. And so I went to the BP station, and I got them a slushie, and I bought a pack of cigarettes. And when I got back in the car, little Grant told me he had to go pee-pee. And so I just drove over by the grass because I couldn't take him into the bathroom with all the kids. And so I just opened the door and let him pee on the driveway in the parking lot right there. And when I put him back in the car, Lily was asleep and Gentle was asleep. And so I left, and then I realized I'm thirsty too, so I went through the Wendy's driveway and got me a soda. And decided maybe I'll just take him to the mall. And so I drove to the mall, and whenever I got there, then little Grant's asleep too. So basically I just drove around for a little while smoking. I was a chain smoking maniac. And then I went back to the house, and I was getting the kids out of the car, and little Grant told me that he was hungry. And I asked him what he wanted to eat, and he told me he wanted chicken because he is a chicken man, and because that's what Grant and I called him, was Chicken Man. And so I put the boys back in. I hadn't got Lily out yet, just Grant and Gentle. And I noticed that Laura's car was still there, and so I figured that Grant just went in the ambulance with Laura to the hospital. And so I asked little Grant if he wanted to go to Chick-fil-A, because usually Grant is the one that goes to the grocery store and stuff. And so he said yes, and so I took them to Chick-fil-A, and I let them play in the little play area for a little while, and I ordered Grant food also because I knew he would be hungry whenever he got home too. And so whenever we left there, I went straight home, and whenever I got upstairs, Grant was on the couch sitting, and the house was kind of smoky. We didn't usually smoke in the house, and so I could tell that he had been smoking in the house. And the boys went and sat next to Grant, and I asked him, you know, what happened, and he told me that everything was fine. You know, he just kind of told me to be quiet. You know, he didn't want to talk about it in front of the kids. And so it was late then, and so I took the kids to my bathroom to brush their teeth, because the night before, which was Tuesday night, while I was cooking dinner, Grant was supposed to be watching the boys, and anyway, little Grant found Gentle in the bathroom, in the hall bathroom. That was the boys' bathroom. Grant and the two boys always used that bathroom, and Shay and that was the girl bathroom, because that's where all my makeup and stuff was. And the boys, you know, they didn't need to get into my stuff. As a matter of fact, there was a child-proof thing on the outside bedroom. They couldn't even get into that room. But anyway, on Tuesday night when I was cooking dinner and Grant was supposed to be watching the boys, Gentle had gone in the bathroom, and he had used the potty chair. He had gone poop in the potty chair, and he tried to empty it himself, and he had poop everywhere. And he had flushed a whole bunch of toilet paper down the toilet, and the toilet was overflowed and stopped up. And little Grant's the one that found him, and like all night he kept telling Gentle that it was really gross to play with poop. And so so that night, Grant had put all of the kids' stuff in because I wasn't cleaning it up. He always cleaned that bathroom anyway. And so he had put all the kids' stuff in my bathtub because he had to clean it all up. And so whenever I went to brush their teeth and stuff, I took them to my bathroom to brush their teeth. And Grant helped me tuck them into bed. And anyway, whenever we got through, when we came out, he was sitting on the couch, and I sat on the love seat. And, I asked him what happened, and he said that she was fine, that, she had just hit her head, and that she had left a little while ago. And, I started asking him questions, and he kind of cut me off, and he told me that in the morning to call Shay to have her come over and get the boys so that we could get some stuff done, and that they could take her, she could take them to Monkey Joe's, but she'd have to go early because Lauren usually went to the bank. And so he picked up the phone and he called. He made a telephone call and he went out on the balcony. And I went to my bathroom and brushed my teeth and stuff and got ready. And when I came back in, I heard him say, "I'll see you tomorrow." And whenever he hung up the phone, he said he had been talking to his mom. And I told him, I said, "Well, I'm going to bed." And so I had Lily in the floor. I laid her on my bathrobe. And so I got her all changed and everything, and I took her, because the bassinet was in our bedroom, and I put her in our bedroom, and I went to bed. And I heard Grant leave at some point in time, and I heard him a couple times in the middle of the night, but I didn't think anything. And then whenever I got up in the middle of the night to feed Lily, he wasn't there. And then when I got up in the morning, he wasn't there again. And I called Shay, and I asked her to come. And then I called Monkey Joe's to make sure, to see if Lauren was there, and they said she was there. And so then I tried to call Laura so that she could talk to the boys since they were going to go with Shay, because the two phones, Grant's phone was the 8581 number and mine is the 7561 number. But I say it's my phone, but it's really the kid's phone. That is, during this, Grant really didn't want Laura to have his personal, his number. And so Laura always called the boys on my telephone or the kids' phone until, I don't know, it had been a few months ago. Whenever we really started having bad financial problems, we always tried to keep that one phone on no matter what. We did have prepaid phones because whenever I lived in the Virgin Islands, I discovered prepaid phones and I really hated contracts. So I had refused to get any kind of contract phone, because I really didn't talk on the phone very much, and I could put $25 on it, and that was fine for me. And so that phone we always tried to keep on. But at some point, a month or two later, somehow or another, something had happened, and Grant had to give Laura his other phone number. So there for a little while, she did have both numbers, but primarily she only had that one number for the majority of the time. But during this time, Grant's phone was not working. Only the 7651 number was working until several days later, and then I had put more money on it for to turn his phone on. So he had been using that phone for several days.
Did you have a cell phone with you when you left the house to go to the Chick-fil-A?
No, sir, I did not.
Did that phone even have any phone minutes on it?
The 8581 number did not have any minutes. It was not working at the time, and I had left the 7651 number with Grant so that he could call for help.
And did he use that phone when he left that night? Was that phone left behind?
Honestly, I don't know. Well, yes, I don't know what time he came and went. I don't know, because I went to bed, but whenever I woke up the next morning, it was there.
Is that the phone that you used to call Shay?
Yes, sir, that's
And
correct.
Monkey Joe's?
Yes, sir.
And Laura?
Yes, that's correct.
When you called Laura, you didn't get an answer?
No, I just left her a message.
Did you then attempt to call Grant's mother?
I did, because I didn't know where he was, and I knew that he had told her he would see her the next day. And so I called and left her a message also to see if she had seen Grant.
When did you next see Grant that day?
It was close to 11. He got back just a few minutes before Shay got there.
And what happened then?
Shay came in, and the boys already had them ready, and so she took them. I told her that Lauren would be there and that she would make sure they got lunch and stuff. So Shay took the boys, and at that time, Grant and I, we just tried to come up with a game plan. This was, at this time, this was Thursday. We were supposed to be moving on Saturday. Shay and I had already gotten some boxes like a week before that. She and I had rode with her one day, and we had gone by one of the ABC stores, and she had gone in and got some boxes. And so we were just going to try to, we had talked about, you know, do we get a storage building in Kinston? Do we just, you know, what do we try to sell everything? Like, what, we just trying to come up with a game plan and get some stuff done.
When you got back from the Chick-fil-A on Wednesday night, was the hall bathroom door open or closed?
I believe it was closed only because whenever Gentle had flushed all the toilet paper, Grant had shut it up because it was stopped up and he had to clean it and stuff, and it kept stopping up. Gentle used to like hold the toilet thing down, and he would put all kinds of stuff in it. Honestly, I didn't go in the bathroom whenever it was all messed up, but I know that it was bad because you could, it stunk, and like I said, I didn't really use that toilet, so.
Later that day, did you call and ask Shay to bring a vacuum cleaner over?
I did. At one point, Shay had, I don't remember if Shay had called or Grant told me to call her, but we really, like that, we really didn't get a lot of stuff done when she first left because we were talking. And so either she called or he had me call her, I can't recall which, but he did ask me to ask her to keep the boys a little longer. And so she said she would take them to Linwood Grill to eat. And after that, I don't know how, it was probably 30, 40 minutes, and she called me back and said that they were getting grumpy and tired. And I told her just to bring them home to take a nap, and that's whenever I asked her to bring the vacuum cleaner. You know, we had just been trying to get stuff together, and Grant had been doing all the vacuuming just because I was pregnant, and then I had a C-section. So he was going to vacuum, and whenever I went to plug the vacuum cleaner in, I noticed that the rug was gone underneath the table, and he told me that he had thrown it out because it was just all dirty, full of food from the boys and stuff.
Now, describe that rug.
It's just a large black aerial rug with the, it's primarily the same as the smaller rugs that everybody saw here, except for this was a large one.
It was just a larger version of those black and gold rugs that we...
Yes, sir, that's correct.
But it was gone.
Yes, sir.
You asked Grant where it went?
He said he threw it away just because it was dirty. He had thrown away a bunch of stuff. Just, he really had no attachment to stuff. Whenever he came to New York, when he left the Virgin Islands, he had given away all of his clothes. As a matter of fact, we had had several little arguments about, you know, just that he didn't have any appreciation for the value of stuff.
Now, sometime that Thursday afternoon, you went to the Target.
I believe so. I went to get some snacks and stuff for the kids.
Did Grant ask you to buy some things for him?
While I was at the Target, I don't remember again if he called me or I called him, but he told me that that bathroom still stunk, and he asked me if we had any bleach, and I told him to look in where the laundry stuff is, and I don't usually use bleach because it does bother me, and he said he didn't see any, so he asked me to get some bleach for him.
Did he ask you to get some other items that you recall?
He asked me to get a pair of gloves just so he could clean that bathroom.
After you went to the Target, did you come back home?
Yes, sir.
Did you leave again?
Not that I recall, no, sir. Not that night. I did not.
Did Grant leave again?
Yes, he did.
Do you know where he went?
No, I do not.
Do you know what time he came back?
No, sir, I don't. Whenever I got up in the middle of the night to feed Lily, he was there, and he had been on the computer, and he told me that he asked me if I'd like to go see my sister. He said since we were getting ready to move that we actually had a little bit of money. I know he sold his computer Thursday. He did leave, and he sold his computer Thursday because he took the boys with him when he was supposed to go meet with the guy.
And was that the computer that had been listed on Craigslist?
I believe so. Like I said, I really don't know what he did on the computer. I really don't.
So was it his idea to go see your sister?
It was, yes, sir.
At that moment, what was the situation with you and your sister?
Well, my sister Karen and I, ever since Nikki died, we weren't as close as we had been. You know, just our lives became very, very different. I moved away from everyone. I moved to New York, and so I wasn't around all the time. So we did definitely, you know, kind of drift apart somewhat. I think that my family, my mom and my oldest sister, I think they felt that I was somewhat selfish because I traveled and basically kind of did what I wanted to. And so I definitely felt a little bit of animosity. Financially, I had helped them, you know, my sister, my mom, just about several times. And I think that my sister felt that, you know, because I had a little bit of money, she thought that I thought that, I don't know, she just led me to believe that she felt like I was better, which I never ever did, but she felt that way. So, I mean, I can't deny her feelings or justify it, but that's how she led me to believe. So we had definitely drifted a little, but that last year or so, we had kind of come back together more. Whenever Grant and I got married and I had the kids around, that brought us closer together because we had that commonality to talk of all the time. And then I got pregnant with Lily, and so, you know, we talked about that a lot. And my mom and I had gotten closer also. I had really been kind of distant to my family for a few years, and I had really kind of was trying to get back closer to them somewhat.
When had your mother died?
My mother died 2 days before Lily was born, June 7th.
And had you been able to go to Texas when your mother died?
No, sir, I wasn't. For two reasons. Number one, I was very pregnant. Number two, I didn't have any money at all. And it was really hard because my brother had to take care of all the funeral arrangements and everything. And it was the first time, because usually I was the one that financially did everything, and he was just like, what? You know, when I told him I didn't have the money, he was just really shocked. It was...
When Grant brought up the idea of going to see your sister, what was his explanation?
He said that for several reasons, because we're moving, it's the middle of the month, so technically we still have about 2 weeks before we have to be out. He said that we had a little bit of money now, that, you know, we could take that. We might not be in a position to be able to go again for a while. And so...
Did you call your sister and talk to her about it?
I spoke to her, I called her Friday morning and asked her if it was okay if Grant and Lily and I come. And she said, yes, absolutely.
And at that point, were there any plans for little Grant and Joan to go?
No, not at all.
Why?
Because they were supposed to go to their mom's over the weekend. And Grant had told me that he had sent Laura an email asking her to keep the boys for the week.
And did the issue come up again about going to Texas to see your mother or see your sister?
What do you mean, did it come up again?
Was there any discussion, did Grant bring up any issue about taking the furniture with you to Texas?
Not until after the boys didn't go to their moms, because that day I had gotten stuff ready for just the three of us to go. But then whenever he got home and the boys didn't go, you know, we discussed the boys going. Whenever he was gone, he had told me he had called his civil attorney and asked since because Laura didn't show up if he could take the boys, but because it was Friday at 5 o'clock, he didn't get a response from the attorney. And so whenever he got home, he said that we would just take them, which made our space very limited. With 3 car seats in the car, we were going to be plumb full. And so he suggested that we get a U-Haul trailer, and that way we could just, whenever we came back, we could just use it to move the following weekend.
At some point, did he raise the issue of taking the piece of furniture to her?
He did, and this piece of furniture had been in storage. I actually got this piece of furniture from Nikki whenever he had purchased it. And to my knowledge, it was relatively expensive, very valuable. And I kept complaining that it was going to get ruined in storage. I wanted to bring it in the house. And honestly, I was afraid that, he would try to get me to sell that. And it was really the last thing of any kind of value I had. So whenever he suggested it, I jumped on it.
Did you call Karen and ask her about?
I did. I asked her if she would like to have it, and she said yes. And so I told her that we were going to get a trailer to so that we could bring all the kids' stuff and everything. And so she said, and I told her, we could take advantage of and bring the piece of furniture.
Did you, the time that you talked to Karen, did you know that Laura had not picked the boys up at the sheep station in Wilson?
By the time I talked to her about the furniture?
Yes.
Yes.
And when you talked to Karen, did you also talk to her about if it was okay for the boys to come along too?
Yes, that was the first question. I think, honestly, I didn't ask her about the furniture until a few conversations later. We were on the phone off and on all day Friday, really, because, while I was packing and stuff, we were off and on the phone.
So by the end of the day on Friday, the plan had changed.
Yeah.
From you, Grant, and Lily coming.
Yes.
To you, Grant, Lily, the boys, and bringing the furniture.
That's correct.
What plans were made to get all this done?
Well, while Grant was on the way back from taking the boys, we had spoke several times. Whenever, because sometimes I did take the boys to Wilson to do the exchange, and usually we both did it, but because I had just had Lily, I hadn't been going for a little while. So he was primarily doing it, but it was very common for us to call each other while we were waiting. And I was on the phone with him when 5 o'clock came and went, and she still hadn't shown up, and he had called me several times in between. And so on his ride back to Raleigh, that's whenever we were talking about, because something was said about if the boys came, our car's full. And so he had said something about that we were going to need a hitch on the car anyway to be able to move. And so that's whenever he asked me to ask Shay to ask Matt if he could put a trailer hitch on. And so whenever Grant came in, I was on the phone with Shay, but all the questions were really coming from Grant. It's like Shay and I were being the translators. Grant was asking me questions that I was asking Shay that she was asking Matt. We should have just gave them the phone.
When was all this going on?
It was Friday evening, Friday night.
And did Grant brought the boys back to the house?
Yes, that's correct. Yes, that's correct.
What did he do then?
Let's see. I believe he left again. The boys and I got them, fed them, and started trying to figure out, to take their stuff, and Grant left, and I didn't see him again until Saturday afternoon.
Talked to him on the telephone during that period of time?
I know I did. I don't recall that night, but I know I talked to him a couple times on Saturday, because I do recall him calling me from when he was getting the trailer hitch, and he called me from the U-Haul place also.
And what was the purpose for the call that he made to you from the U-Haul place?
He did call me and ask me if there was anything else that we needed, and I told him to get furniture pads to make sure that we could wrap that furniture, because it is a valuable piece of furniture and I didn't want it to get messed up.
Okay? Do you know approximately what time you saw him again that Saturday afternoon?
No, I don't recall what time, but he did show up, and he came upstairs and he told me to get the kids to come with him, and we all rode to the storage building. Whenever we pulled up, he told me to go inside and ask them if they had any kind of straps or anything to be able to strap the furniture in, because he was driving. And I got out and I went in, and they didn't sell any kind of stuff like that, but the gentleman that worked there, they have a storage building there that has like lawnmowers and stuff in it. And so he and I walked over to that, and he found some rope that he gave to me, and he told me I could just have it. And so by the time I got back to the car, Grant was talking to a gentleman standing next to the car who also worked there. I had seen several times in the office, and Grant had asked him if he would help him load the piece of furniture in. And so I got in the car, and Grant just pulled up to the storage building. It was on the same aisle.
Could you describe that piece of furniture for us?
We used it as an entry piece. It's tall, but it's two pieces. It breaks down, well, three if you count the marble top on it. But it's just a large hutch buffet type. The top of it it's got a few little shelves on it, and the bottom part has drawers and a shelf. So
Did you see Grant and the other gentleman put the furniture in the U-Haul?
I wasn't watching them, but yes, I saw them. I had Lily. I had taken her out of her car seat, and I was holding her, and the boys were running around. So I saw them loading the furniture, but I didn't actually watch them,
And where did you go from there?
From there, Grant took the kids and I back to the apartment and just dropped us off. And he said he would be back in a little while. And I didn't see him again until that night. Like late, we had actually gone to bed, and he had come to and woke us up and told us to let's go.
Meet Ted Ligety, a four-time...
Like 11:30, 12 o'clock.
And from Raleigh, what was the route that you followed to go to Texas?
Honestly, I don't know. He did 99.9% of the driving. It was in the middle of the night. The kids were sleeping. I slept a lot of the way. At one point, I did drive a little ways. We switched places, and I got sleepy, and he was asleep in the passenger side, and I kept trying to wake him up, and he was not responding at all. And so I made the decision to pull off and get a hotel. And when I pulled up, he was like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm going to get a hotel for a little while." And he said that he was fine, that he could just drive. And I was like, "Grant, I tried to wake you up, and you didn't even respond at all." So I said, "We have 3 kids, and it's better for us just to rest for a little while." I said, "You can take a shower or whatever." And so whenever I pulled up, he gave me some cash. It told me to get the hotel. And so I went in and I got the hotel.
And whose name did you register in?
Yeah, under mine. In all of my identification is Smith. I've never changed anything. The only thing I have with Hayes is the bank card from RDC or whatever it is. What is it? RBC. That's the only thing I have under Hayes.
Did they ask you for your driver's
Yes,
license
sir.
when you checked in?
They did, yes, sir.
And did you give them the New York driver's license?
Yes, sir.
Is that the only driver's license that you have?
Yes, sir. I have 2 driver's licenses from New York. They're exactly the same because I had lost my wallet, and I had applied to get a replacement, but whoever found my wallet mailed it back to my house, and so I had the replacement and the original, so that's why I had 2 driver's licenses, but they're exactly the same.
You had never obtained a North Carolina driver's
No, sir, I have not.
license? You didn't register at the Motel 6?
No,
or
sir.
Anonymous name, did you?
No, sir.
Did you continue, how long did you stay at the Motel 6?
Just a couple of hours, not very long at all.
And did you continue on towards your sister's house in Texas?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
While you were on the way to Texas, did you have a conversation with Grant about a dream that he had had?
Yes, sir. He had told me that he had had a dream that he was in a forest and that he had killed Laura, and that if I didn't help him get rid of her, that I was going to be next. And I told him it's probably from all the crazy TV that he watches, because he watches a lot of crime shows. As a matter of fact, when I was pregnant, like this one particular night, we were in bed and I was sleeping and he was watching them, and I woke up and I told him he had to change it because it's like affecting my dreams.
Do you recall what time you arrived in Texas
At my sister's or just Texas?
relative to your sister?
I believe it was around 5 o'clock a.m.
When you got there, did you have to wake your sister up?
Whenever we knocked on the door, she answered. So she usually sleeps on the couch. My sister has a few health problems, and so she generally sleeps on the couch.
Now, on the trip from Raleigh to Texas, did you pass over numerous swamps and bridges and secluded areas?
Yes, sir. Many, many, many places. The ocean, bridges, swamps. Yes, sir.
On the trip to Texas, were you aware that Laura's body was in the back of the trailer?
No, sir, I was not. Not at all.
How many places can you estimate you passed where her body could have been disposed of had you known she was there?
I don't know, but I know for sure in Louisiana there's lots and lots of swamplands, and there's bridges and oceans, and there's a lot, a whole lot.
When you got to Texas and you saw your sister, what'd you do that day?
Monday, whenever we got there, everyone was pretty tired except for the boys. They were the only ones that got a lot of sleep. But I was pretty excited, and my sister was excited, so she had made some coffee, and the kids, and she was excited to see Lily. She held her, and she played with the boys, and Grant was really tired, so he went and laid down in the bed and went to sleep.
During the day, did you talk with your sister about the need to be back in North Carolina on Friday?
Yes,
What'd you
yes,
tell her?
because, well, she knew that Laura didn't show up, but I told her we definitely had to be back by Friday so Laura could get the boys again, and Grant was waiting on a call back from his attorney at this point to kind of see what was going on.
What was Monday like?
It was just normal, really. We visited. My sister, she cooked. Usually, whenever I go see my sister, I usually end up cooking, but this time she cooked, and she played with the kids a lot. And I was tired. I took a nap. The kids and I all took a nap, too. And I was tired. I have 2 little boys that I chasing around all the time, and I just had Lily.
Later that night, did you see Grant in the yard?
Yes, sir. We had all gone to bed about the same time. Grant went to bed with me and the kids actually might have already been in bed. At some point, something woke me up, and I looked out the window and I saw car lights, and it looked like they were leaving, and I saw Grant walk across the yard. And I got up and I went to the bathroom, and I went outside to see what he was doing, and I didn't see him at first, and I called to him, and he was in the trailer, and I could tell that I kind of scared him, and he came out of the trailer and he closed the door, and he had a machete that was on the bumper of the trailer, and he got it, and he told me that there were a lot of animals out there, and I was like, well, duh, you're in the country. And we walked over to my nephew's Shelton, his truck, and we sat down on the tailgate, and Grant lit a cigarette. And he had told me that, because I asked him, he should probably come in and try to go to sleep so he could be up tomorrow, because Grant generally was up all night. That was just kind of his schedule. And so I was really trying to get him so he could get up tomorrow and be around people versus sleeping all day. And he told me that he was trying to figure some stuff out. And I asked him, like, what? And I'll never forget it. He was smoking a cigarette, and he was, like, really calm, and he looked at me, and he said, what would you say if I told you Laura was dead? And I was like, what? And basically, he told me that the night that Laura had come over to the house, that she had died, and that whenever I left, that he just panicked and freaked out. And I started freaking out, and I was asking him why he didn't call the cops, call for help, like he told me he was going to. And he told me that he got scared, that he was a black man with a dead white woman, and nobody was going to believe him, that it was an accident, and that he had taken her to Kinston. And then he stopped himself, and he told me that he shouldn't be telling me any of that stuff. And then he had told me that the Kinston police called, and so I assumed that that they found Laura's body, since he told me that he took her to Kinston. And anyway, I was freaking out, and he had the machete, and he whacked me on the leg, and he told me to shut the F up, and that this was not the time for me to start challenging him, and that he told me that I didn't understand, because I said something about the cops finding her, and he said, no, I didn't understand. And he told me that that I had to help him figure out how to get rid of this body, or else none of us were making it back to North Carolina, to Raleigh. And he asked me if I thought we could get Shelton to help us, and I told him absolutely not. I said my sister would absolutely, she would never, ever, ever forgive me if I got Shelton involved in something like that. And then he told me, he said, well, we're going to need your sister's help. And I said, I don't trust my sister like that. And he told me, he said, well, you better figure out how to make her trust, to trust you. And so basically he told me that the best thing that he could think of was that I needed to tell her that I was the one that pushed Laura, and so that she would help, because she certainly wasn't going to help him, because he was a black guy, and this was the first time she had ever met him, and I better figure out how to make my sister help us. And so I just remember being really scared, and he told me that if I couldn't figure out how to make my sister help us, that I was not going to see Shay again. He had suggested going to Mexico, and I told him no, that I would figure this out. And then it wasn't long, and Shelton pulled up, and he got out, and I started asking Shelton all kinds of questions, just like about his job and about, the vicinity, and, I asked him about, like, his work and about the, because I don't really know anything about hogs and stuff like that. I just started asking him a bunch of questions, and anyway, Shelton, he's kind of an airhead, and he said he was going to go in and go to bed. And so Grant told for me to go, we were all going to go in and go to bed together. And so we went in, and the kids, Lily's in our bed, and Grant's just like kind of snuggled up to me or whatever. And I remember just laying there being really scared and not knowing what to do. And then the next morning, as soon as I woke up, Grant wasn't in bed with me. And when I got up, Grant and my sister were in the kitchen together. And so I told my sister that I really needed to talk to her. And she was like, okay. I said, it's really important. I really need to talk to you, like, right now. And she's like, okay. And she asked if she could get some coffee, and I said, yeah. And Grant's just, like, in the kitchen. And so anyway, she and I both get a cup of coffee, and we go outside, and Grant follows us. And she and I go to where the swing is at, and Grant goes to the driveway, which is just right there. You can see, we could see him, he could see us. And so I was just really scared, and I didn't even know how to tell her. I just, like, blurted it out. I told her that something really bad had happened, and that I needed her help, but if she didn't want involved, I understood, and that I told her that Laura had come over to our house and that she and I got into an argument and that she had threatened to take Lily away from me and that I shoved her and that she fell and that she was hurt really bad. Um, I don't I don't really recall saying that she was dead, just because I was afraid to say it. But somehow or another, I asked, Grant's watching us, and she asked, or I could tell he was wanting to come over, so I asked her if it was okay. And so he comes over, and then, this is another thing. Whenever he and I were out there that night, he told me that it was my fault that this had happened. If I would have just let her hold the baby, that none of this would have happened. And so whenever I was talking to my sister, I remember I kept telling her that it was my fault. And I was crying, and she kept telling me that, I wouldn't be in this if it wasn't for him, and he wouldn't be in this if it wasn't for me, that, we were in this together at this point. And anyway, at that point, where I'm just trying to ask her if she could help us figure out what to do at this time. And she did ask if I wanted an attorney, and I told her no. I mean, I didn't know what to do. I was just trying to help him.
Did you tell your sister Karen what Grant had told you to tell her?
Yes, sir, I did.
Had you pushed Laura?
No, sir, I never touched her at all.
At some point later, did Karen sit you down and talk to you about what you had said?
The next day, a lot of stuff had happened, though, that day. It was very stressful. It was very, very stressful. The next day
Tell us what happened that day.
Okay, well, anyway, during this conversation with my sister and Grant's there, and honestly, I don't remember exactly who said what and where, but I know that something was said about the well, and because there's a well in the front yard, and we all got up and walked to the backyard, and it was primarily my sister and Grant talking. I'm just kind of following. And I know that whenever we got to the septic, because she had said that there was a septic system back there, and she had said that she thought maybe at one point one of the kids might want to build a house, so she didn't know for sure if it would be a good idea, but anyway, she said that it was out there. And then she told him about the hog pen, and like I said, I don't recall exactly me to take Shelton's car because her truck is a long bed truck, and she's always worried about people pulling out on the curve right there. So she wanted me to take Shelton's truck. And so at this time, the boys had gotten up, and they were outside with my sister whenever Grant and I left. And Grant told me to go. We had asked my sister directions where the Home Depot and stuff was at, and so we go to the Home Depot, and there's a bank across the street. So he tells me to go to the bank and draw out money, and so I did. Then we go across to the Home Depot, and I asked him if it's okay if I text my sister to remind her that Lily was inside on the bed still, and he said yes. He let me text her, and then he took the phone and the keys, and he went inside Home Depot, and he came back, and he came back out after just a few minutes, and he told me to call Shay and tell her that she needed to go to the apartment to meet this guy about the couch. And I can't remember if they talked or not, but whenever they hung up, he went back into the Home Depot again, and then he came out, and we went back to my sister's house, and I was just trying to act normal. And whenever my two nephews, well, Shelton was at work. I think Dalton was there that day. Well, I know Dalton was there, but I can't recall if he had friends there or whatnot. But my sister had called on his phone, and I had talked to her on his phone for a second. And whenever I hung up. I had dialed 911, but I couldn't figure out how to hit send. And anyway, whenever Dalton got his phone back, he's like, "Oh my God, you almost called 911." And I just kind of made it sound like an accident. And Grant told me that if I tried that again, I would never see Shay again. And so from that second on, I was just so scared. That was Tuesday.
What happened after you came back from the Home Depot?
So, I had the kids. Grant was outside a whole lot. He was on the phone all the time. I didn't know who he was talking to. And honestly, I had heard so much stuff. Grant's told me so many stories. He told me one time that Laura had left him with little Grant whenever he was first born, and within an hour he had someone pick her up and brought her back and told her that she wasn't that she wasn't taking the baby, that she could leave, but she wasn't taking the baby. And just a lot of different stories. He had told me that he had killed a guy before. He told me that he was in a car and he and this guy got into a confrontation, and he shot a guy, and he never got caught. He told me that when he and his first wife were married, that he had hired this guy to steal their car. And anyway, he said that, anyway, something crazy happened. I don't remember the whole situation, that he had gone after this guy. And then he told me another time that he pulled a knife on a guy at a club, and Grant was a little guy, and so like, he told me a lot of stuff about different people that he had hung out with. I know that whenever he lived in Raleigh, he sold a lot of drugs, and he hung out with a lot of bad people. He told me about these mafia guys that owned a restaurant that he used to hang out with a lot. He told me, so just, I mean, there were a bunch of stories of different people that he knew, and so not only was I afraid of him, but I was really fearful for Shay, because I wasn't there to be able to protect her, and I was scared. I was just scared that he was going to have someone get her.
You're done. What happened later that Tuesday afternoon?
So that evening, my niece came over, Candace. I hadn't seen her in a while, and I was just really trying to act normal because I didn't want anybody else to be involved in this. I was so scared. I brought this guy to my family now, and I was just trying to get him away from my family, and I was scared because of the kids. And when my niece came over, you know, I was just trying to be normal, and so she didn't know anything was wrong. And she had, I asked her if she could give me another payment while she was there, that we really needed, you know, some more cash to get home on. And so she had given me a check, and I asked her if there was any way she could get cash. And so she said she would. So she had gone to the ATM machine and brought back cash. And whenever she got back, Grant had told me that he needed my help. And so I went out with him, and I had gone across the street. He told me just to watch, to look out. He had some stuff he had to do. And so basically I was just watching to see if anybody was coming. And then he told me he was thirsty, so I told him I would go get some water. And I went back to my sister's house, and I got 2 bottles of water, and I asked her if I could borrow some clothes. Well, okay, actually I skipped a whole bunch of stuff because of the whole acid situation. Whenever we had got back to my sister's house, I don't know, Grant had went outside or something, and he had come at one point and told me that the acid wasn't working. And so he was going to have to figure out something else. And then he asked me if there was any way that we could use the boat across the street. And I told him I would ask my sister. And she told me where the key was at, and I gave him the key. And so that's how the whole acid situation came in. And then that night, that's whenever he came in and got me and asked me to help him. And I just watched, I don't know what he was doing. And then I came to my sister's house and got the water, and she gave me a long sleeve shirt and a pair of sweatpants. And whenever I went back over there, it was getting dark. I mean, it wasn't pitch dark, but it was dark. And I really didn't, whenever we got to the boat, there was black plastic over it. I didn't really see anything. And the front of the boat was here, the back of the boat, and I helped him push it in. I got in and I sat down right there, and whenever he got in, he crawled over the front, and the boat was facing the wrong direction. We wanted to go to the left, and the boat was facing the right, and so we just paddled the boat backwards. And whenever the boat started filling up with water, and I just kept trying to bail the water out, and whenever we got down so far, I just kept trying to keep the boat in the center, and I was scared there were animals, and it was dark, and the moon was, and I could just hear animals, and there was grass everywhere, and I just didn't know what was in the water. I was very scared. I didn't see anything. I just kept that way, and it was taking a really long time. It seemed like forever and ever and ever. And finally, we started heading back that direction. We turned the boat around. I don't even know how long we were gone. And I was scared that we couldn't find where the boat went again. And as soon as we got to the dock, he told me to give me my clothes. And so I still had my shorts on underneath, and I gave him my clothes. And I asked him if it was okay if I went to the kids, and he told me yes. And as soon as I walked in, my sister had to go. And then he came, I don't know how long it was, and he came back. And he had some trash and stuff. Whenever my sister got there, he asked me to ask her for directions to an apartment. And so he had some trash he needed to throw out. And so he put everything in the back of the truck. I don't know what everything is. I didn't see it. I just know he had some trash bags or something. And I drove him to the apartments, and he threw everything away, and he asked me for my shoes. He took my shoes away from me, and he threw them away. And then we went back to my sister's house, and
While you were, did you ever see Laura's body?
no, I didn't.
Ever at any time that you were in there?
The last time I saw her was whenever they fell. Whenever I came out, she was already in the bathroom. I never saw her ever. Whenever we got to the boat, it was all covered up. Honestly, I didn't even know there was a middle seat until we saw the boat the other day.
What happened that night?
That night, he just started cleaning everything up and, you know, again, just trying to keep the kids calm. My sister, I could tell she was just like really freaked out. The next morning, you know, now I'm like really stressed. I haven't slept at all. And I could tell my sister was just wanting me to go, and I can't blame her at all. And he wanted me to go to Walmart. I needed to get Lily some formula because I had totally stopped breastfeeding her now. And he wanted me to get him a pair of shorts, and I wanted to get some snacks for the kids for the drive. And so on the way, he told me to take that acid and throw it out at the apartment. And I had gone to Walmart, and when I was coming back, I was just scared because I didn't know anything about the acid. I didn't know if it was flammable or explosive, and so I was afraid to throw it out at the apartment. And so whenever I was driving, I got the idea to just throw it in the bushes.
This was,
That's Wednesday.
that's Wednesday morning.
Wednesday.
Tell us how Grant is acting during this period of time.
Well, from Monday, the time he told me, he started just progressively getting a little crazier. Like whenever we were going to throw the trash out, like he was really kind of starting to get paranoid. By the time we started heading back to Raleigh, he was really, really very paranoid. He had the machete with him the most of the time, and I knew that he had that other little knife with him because he carried it all the time to the club. And whenever we got back to North Carolina, once we hit the state line, he was just really crazy. He was wearing one of the kids' hat, and he was wearing sunglasses. He wouldn't get out anywhere. He was really very scary. And I pretty much spent the entire trip back just praying for God to please keep us safe. I was just really scared. He really wasn't letting me talk to Shay. I know at one time, I can't remember if she called or he called, but she wanted to talk to me, and he told her it was against his better judgment, but he was going to let her talk to me for a minute. And Shay was just really mad. She felt like I wasn't telling her what was going on, but I couldn't tell her anything. I was just trying to protect her the best I could and keep her out of it.
Was there a point on the way back when Grant talked about some medication that he had?
Whenever we got back to close to Kinston, we ended up getting a hotel room. And Grant had asked me where the medicine was that from my C-section, and I told him I had left it at my sister's, and he had gotten mad at me because he told me that we could have all just gone to sleep. And so, and another time whenever we were driving, Lily was crying, and he told me if I didn't shut her up, he was going to throw her out the car.
Will you make it back to his parents' home in Kansas?
Whenever we got to the hotel, we stayed we were going to go to his parents' house, but he has an aunt that lives next door, and he didn't trust her, and so he didn't want to go back there. He was afraid. And so whenever we went to the hotel, I was just trying to be as normal as I could for the boys. I didn't want to scare them. And I knew that it was just all closing in, and I was scared. I was just trying to get all the kids to a safe place. And I was trying to get to Shay. I kept trying, once we got to his parents' house, I kept trying to get Shay to come to me because I wanted her to take Lily, and she would not come, and I couldn't tell her anything. And Friday, whenever I asked him if he trusted his dad enough to tell him what was going on, and he told me no, that if I told anyone, he would slit my throat.
I'm going to need you to identify some of the documents that you've referred to concerning your financial situation and so forth. So we're going to take a few moments to go through those things. Okay?
Okay.
Let me ask you, before I do that, did Grant write you a letter from the Wake County Detention Center after he was arrested?
Yes, sir.
May I approach witness, Your Honor?
You may.
And let me ask you to examine what I've marked as appendix exhibit number 109 and ask you if that is a copy of the letter that Grant wrote to you.
This is the letter. It's not a copy. It's the letter.
And
That's
also
correct.
Exhibit 109A, is that the copy of the envelope?
Yes, sir, it is.
What's the name that he wrote in the return address portion?
It says Sharon Clay.
He didn't use his real name.
No, I don't know who that is either. I have no idea.
You recognize the handwriting?
Yes, sir, I
You know
do.
it was from Grant.
Yes, sir.
I would offer that as evidence, Your Honor, and ask that it be published.
Let me see it. You got the original? Okay. Let me see the envelope too, please. Ms. Hayes, did you actually receive this?
Yes, sir, I did.
All right, objections overruled. That'll be received.
May I publish it?
You may. How you intend to publish it?
I'm going to have her read it, and I'd like to put it on the big screen.
Okay.
Did you read the letter out loud?
Yes, sir. It says, I got one question. What's your hair decision? Cornrows or ponytail? Says you're gonna pull, or are you gonna pull a Stevie Nicks in there and bring out back the 80s, or take the Spike Lee route and do the right thing? Laugh out loud. I got jokes. I'm drunk. Next, I sent you 2 books, one for you to study and one for sifting. Your love child is so adorable, so adorable. You should put her in pageant next year. You've got some homework, young lady. Happy birthday. Get yourself a notebook and spend a few hours a day, every day, on assembly line. Get your magic pen and go nuts. Scripting, rampage, wouldn't it be nice, processes after processes. Be bold, have fun, be specific. Setting everything as best, then clarifying further and seeing it better. Writing in such a powerful point of focus. It's also the quickest way to yank something now into the tangible. Says you and your beau are getting raked right now. Hell, what do I know? I'm just saying what it looks like. But for all I know, GrantHayes.com is taking in millions off of 99-cent downloads, and y'all come out of this shit rich as fuck. Yo, stranger things have happened in these here Americas. From nude beaches in Jamaica with Nikki to strip searches in North Carolina with Hayes. 1 minute you're Jason and the next you're dancing with the stars. Remember your friends, bitch, or else I'm coming after your ass, sideways, karate style, make you wish you'd have stayed in jail. Not, we are all connected, Nama, just like ants and bees and those little antenna things. Uninhibited by the illusions of self, those little buggers functions as a collection. Every hive or mound, all one channel. It's the same for us big birds. Consciousness is all connected. Bowling balls on a trampoline. We are the lens of self. Is just years and years of perception, layers and layers of experience. But the broader you that has no name, no birth date, has unlimited, unrestricted access to the elements of that time-space. So keep that mother on a goddamn clock and magic pen and paper, or so help me Buddha, you will never eat another snail again. Jesus fucking Christ, somebody call this lady a cab. A wise man once said, oh, I used to think I knew. Y'all are good people. You are good people, Nama. And the good thing about all the seeds you've planted is that the rain will see to the fruit. Always does, so chillax. Just another colorful and textured page in your soul's journal. So make the most of it. You have an awesome lineage, always the goddamn spectacle. Next life, we're sticking you in the Alps with an inbred farmer and a 3-legged dog that ought to keep your pants up. Write me back. Let me know what you like in the books. I'm scraping together some more money and send you more in like a week or two. Fucking Obama healthcare my ass. Just make it rain, nigga. Please, and I'm out. P.S. I'm considering psycho-cybernetics for Grant. I know you have the book in your collection. Do you recommend it?
Coach Whitcomb.
You may.
Amanda, let me ask you to examine what I have marked as a Defendant's Exhibit 106. And 106A.
Yes.
Do you recognize that?
Yes, sir, it's a letter that I received.
Who did you receive that letter from?
Received it from a lady named Tina Shreve.
And let me ask you all to examine what I've marked as 106B, 106B, 106C, and ask you if you recognize those documents.
Yes, sir. This is a outgoing letter to Tina from Grant.
So you receive a letter from Christine Shreve,
Yes,
and Grant has written to Christine Shreve
correct, and she
to
forwarded it to
you.
me. That's correct.
All right. I don't think he's moved to offer anything yet.
I was objecting to the question about who had written it.
Okay.
How it had gotten in.
Understand?
What do you have in front of you?
This is a letter from Grant to Christina. The envelope is addressed to her from him in his handwriting. I do recognize that. This is the letter from Christina addressed to me, and it has this letter inside of this letter.
I would offer those exhibits into evidence, Your Honor.
When and where did you receive them?
At the Wake County Detention Center.
Okay.
And I can't recall. The date is February 2nd, 2012, so around a year ago.
Okay. Let me see.
Two years ago.
Did you receive the actual handwritten letter from Grant Hayes in the letter from Ms. Shreve?
No, sir. She had rewritten it in her handwriting.
All right. Do you intend to call Tina Shreve?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. And none of these documents are in the handwriting of Grant Hayes?
The photocopied is his handwriting.
The photocopy is?
Yes, sir, that one.
That is his handwriting?
Yes, sir.
Is that what you received in the letter from Ms. Shreve?
It's the same writing, but in her handwriting.
I sustain. Sustain. The objection is sustained. The objection is sustained. From her response to my questions, it does not appear that she actually received a handwritten letter from Grant Hayes in his handwriting that she's identified.
May I ask one other question?
Sure.
The letter that that ultimately made its way to you in Grant's handwriting was provided to you by the state in discovery, was it not?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
They are the ones who have the original somewhere in their file, correct? Or do you know?
This I believe is the original.
That's the...
The other letter, yes, that one I don't recall.
The one in his handwriting that Christine Shreve copied
Yes,
didn't come to you, the state provided that to you.
that's correct. Yes, sir.
And it's in Grant Hayes' handwriting.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
It's your understanding that Grant Hayes mailed Christina Shreve a letter. She then wrote the words of his letter on a piece of paper, sent you a letter that included that piece of paper.
Yes, sir. I think what Mr. Gaskins is asking, if I'm incorrect, please correct me, is that the letter that Grant Hayes mailed to Christina, that the state intercepted, and then that's where the original is at.
All right.
Is that correct?
That's correct. The state,
All right. Enough. Objection overruled. You may read only the portion of the letter from Christina that is what you understood to be the words of Grant Hayes, and that only. All right. Go ahead. Are you going to publish that?
uh,
She can read it. How do you want to publish it? That's all I'm asking.
I'd like to publish what Grant Hayes wrote, but if I'm going to do it in the context of the letter that Christine Shreve wrote, then I've got a lot of other things in that letter. I'd like
No, I'm only going to allow that portion that's referred to as Grant Hayes' letter, and that's the exhibit that you gave me right here. This. That's all she's going to read. That's all that's coming in, which is, I guess, 106C. Is that it? All right. Let her read it.
Okay.
Do you have that on the screen, or is that?
In December 2005, he rented The Stepford Wives, just something to fall asleep to in the middle of the day. After watching the movie, he took a nap and dreamed he had actually acquired and married one of the robots from the movie. Recently divorced, he put forth the intention to remarry, but only to a well-put-together, classically choreographed Stepford wife. He even used the exact words when describing his future misses to his friends and audiences. Little did he know the universe was listening. Agreements were made, circumstances, people, and events. 4 years later, a beautiful widow who had actually played one of the Stepford wives sat watching him while was on a date with another man. "Can I kiss you?" he asked the almost stranger. She gingerly complied with his request, but after a few attempts to wet his fingers, she was showing him to the door. He'd be back to meet more than his fingers. She knew he didn't. This was the beginning of her big love, and it scared her. Was she even on the market for such luxury? She'd have to tell herself, but not now. In the morning, perhaps, when her heart had shared and she regained her wits, or when her heart had slowed and she had regained her wits. To be continued.
Approach with Sean.
All right.
Amanda, let me hand you what has been marked as Defendant's Exhibit 109B, and it asks you if you can tell me what that is.
Yes, sir. This is a card that I received from Laura.
When did you receive that?
I don't recall exactly, but since we've been in North Carolina.
And what does it say on the outside?
It says, "Thanks a million."
And would you read the note that she wrote?
It says, "Amanda, thank you for being a positive force in the universe and an extreme blessing to my family. I am grateful to you for several reasons, but to name only a few, thank you for the plane ticket, the clothing and the toys you've supplied, and especially for the time, effort, and love and concern you've shown to my sons. You are definitely appreciated more than you know. Best wishes, Laura."
Approach with Sean.
Sure.
Amanda, let me ask you, if you will, to examine first what I've marked as Defendant's Exhibit 8A. Ask you if you can identify that.
That is a photocopy of my New York driver's license.
to admit that charge.
So be received.
Also, what I have marked as Defendant's Exhibit number 9, can you identify that?
This is,
Can you identify it?
yes, that's correct.
Your Honor, I'd alter it as evidence and ask that it be published.
What is it?
What is it?
It's a statement from my money market account.
Okay, that'll be received.
What is the date on the money market?
I can't make out the month, but it's 2009. I think it's 12/30/2009.
Let me ask you, if you will, to examine what I've marked as Defendant's Exhibit number 10.
Yes.
What is that?
It's a statement from my money market account. It's like the detailed statement.
What is the date on that document?
This is September 30th, 2009.
What is the amount of money that you had in your money market account on that day?
$188,159.15.
Let me ask you if you will examine what I've marked as Defendant's Exhibit number 11. Can you identify that?
Yes, sir. This is a bank statement from an account that I had at Scotia Bank in the Virgin Islands.
Now, did the money that you had in your money market account get transferred to your account in the Virgin Islands?
Yes, sir. After Grant and I were married in the end of April, he convinced me that I should close my money market account because the economy was really bad and that I should buy gold and that everything just kept crashing. And I was dumb enough to listen to him.
Let me ask you, if you will, to examine what I have marked as Defendant's Exhibit number 12 and ask you if you can identify that.
These are bank statements from RBC Bank
And
in here in Raleigh, North Carolina.
is that the joint account that you held with Grant?
It appears to be, yes, that's correct.
Let me ask you, if you will, to examine what I've marked as Defendant's Exhibit number 14.
This is another bank statement from RBC Bank. This is for the Hayes LTD. This is the $50,000 that I gave Grant to.
And what I've marked as Defendant's Exhibit number 15.
This is a statement from American Express.
What is the balance owed to American Express in that statement?
The statement is July 17th, 2011, and the balance is $11,351.61.
Let me ask you to examine what I've marked as Defendant's Exhibit number 16 and ask you if you can identify that.
This is a statement from Citibank, my MasterCard credit card.
What is the balance owed on that card?
The balance as of September 24th, 2011 is $18,433.54.
Let me ask you if you can identify what I've marked as Defendant's Exhibit number 17.
These are pawn tickets from National Pawn.
And are these where the jewel, if you will, look through all of the pages?
The first one is for $2,000.
But just if you will, flip through them and tell me if they reflect that, the pawning of your jewelry.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Let me ask you to examine Defendant's Exhibit number 18, and if you will, tell me what that represents.
This is the apartment lease contract from the apartments at Woodfield Glen.
And whose name was the lease in?
My name, Amanda Smith.
If you will look on over to, let me ask you if these documents reflect that by June, the end of June 2011, that you were being evicted.
Yes, sir, that's correct. It appears that the first time we were late for rent was April 2011, and then again May 2011, and then no more payments.
And let's go back to Defendant's Exhibit number 8. Can you tell me what that is?
This looks like just a basic financial itemization of my...
Your Honor, I would ask to admit all of these documents, and I would like to publish Exhibit number 8.
All right, and you say 8 is sort of an itemization summary, is that what that is?
Yes, it's a summary of all of the documents that we
All right.
have identified.
Let 8A, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 be received. You didn't mention 13, I don't think. Is there a 13?
Your Honor, he didn't mention 13.
Is there
There could be one, but
well,
he hasn't offered it yet.
all right, well, like I say, 8, 8A, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18 are received. No mention of 13. It's not in. All right, go ahead.
Amanda, after having reviewed the various exhibits that you just reviewed, did you have anything left by June 13th, 2011?
No, as a matter of fact, I'm in debt big time.
May I approach witness, Your Honor?
You may.
Let me ask you to examine what I've marked as Defendant's Exhibit 111. Can you recognize that?
This looks like a copy of my medical records from whenever I had Lily.
Your Honor, I would ask to admit this document and ask that it be published.
Again, these are medical records from the birth of your child.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
None received.
The one in 2011.
Okay.
This is a 16-page document, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Do these records reflect that Lily was born on July 9th, 2011?
Yes, sir. June 9th, yes, sir, that's correct.
Did I say July?
Yes, I didn't catch it either, sorry.
June 9th, 2011.
Correct.
And she was delivered by cesarean section,
Yes,
is she not? Were you then put on restricted activities?
yes, sir, that's correct.
What restricted activities were you placed on?
That I wasn't allowed to lift anything heavier than Lily in her carrier. Basically just to take it easy, no strenuous activity. Typical directions after a baby.
May I approach witness, Your Honor?
All right.
Let me ask you, if you will, if you can identify Defendant's Exhibit number 48.
Yes.
What is that?
That's a picture of Grant Hayes and Chris the day he got back from recording in LA. I'm picking him up at the airport.
Where?
From the airport, Raleigh,
Where was he coming from?
from LA.
I'd ask to publish that, Your Honor.
All right, let me received, to be published.
Is that Grant on the left with the guitar?
Yes, that's correct.
May I approach witness, Your Honor?
All right.
Let me ask you first. Are you aware that Grant and his mother and father own property in Kinston, North Carolina?
Yes, sir, that's correct. Grant's told me many times that his family has, I can't remember if it's 7 or 9 properties that the majority of them his family lives in. I know his father has 2 sisters that live with them. I know that the property next door to the daycare center, at one time Grant and his first wife lived there, and another time Laura and the boys had lived there when she first came back to the States from the Virgin Islands. So I'm very familiar with them. Yes, that's correct.
Approach witness, Your Honor.
You may.
Let me ask you to examine Defendant's Exhibit number 13 and ask you if you can recognize that property.
Yes, sir. This is the house that his parents live in.
And that's in Kinston.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
And Defendant's Exhibit number 114.
Yes, sir. That's the daycare.
And let me ask you, you had indicated that there was some property next door to the parent, where the parents live.
Yes, sir. One of his sisters lives in that house.
Let me ask you to examine Defendant's Exhibit number 115 and ask you if you recognize that property.
I believe this is the property next door to the daycare center. I believe so.
And the address on that, is that at 211 East Washington Street?
May I see? I do see 211 on the street, so I'm assuming it is at Washington Street, correct?
Do you recognize Defendant's Exhibit 118?
I believe so, yes, sir.
Does that appear to be one of the houses that the family owns?
I believe so, yes, sir.
And 119?
Yes, sir. I believe this is the one next door to his parents' house.
Now, do you recognize in March of Defendant 116?
I've just driven by it. I'm not really familiar with its,
With that?
yeah.
And Defendant's Exhibit number 117, are you familiar with that?
No, sir, not really, not.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Sure.
That's all the questions we have, Your Honor.
All right, let's take a short break, folks, about 10 minutes. Don't discuss the case among yourselves, keep an open mind. Follow my previous instructions, and come on back in. We'll reassemble in about 10 minutes, and we will reconvene at that time. Thank you. The jurors excused.